Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead.
Okay, so this was another short pass. This was just for some additional context. This is the first deal that I received. And the business is a medical billing company, and what they do is, if you go to a doctor's office, you give your insurance card, they fill out the form, send it to the insurance company, then they have to wait to be reimbursed from the insurance company. They have to follow up, and it's a service business they offer to healthcare providers. So she's 69 years old, and I didn't know how much she wanted, so I just sent her an offer 3 to 5 times EBITDA. She came back saying that she doesn't like an offer based on EBITDA, so strike one. Strike two is she came back with her pricing. She wanted $3 million and 80% up front. Her EBITDA, adjusted is like 150 to 200, so we just passed on this. But I'm talking about it anyway because this was the first deal I looked at. I asked my board, what do you think about this? And they came back saying, because the clients that she bills for, because I asked for a list of her clients, she bills for physical therapy and a few others. And one of my industry experts said that's the claims are harder to be reimbursed there. And I used, and a few others that she mentioned, and I used that information to look for better deals. And the second is that it's just a numbers game. I wanted to get a deal done, but this is shit, so just move on to the next one. And that's really it.
Now, I have some expertise in medical billing because I've exited one and I'm currently in one. And one of my superstars, Black Beauty, who you've seen me write about, who is now considered in that part of the world, central United States, the aficionado. She has a TV program about it, all kinds of shit, and she's made a bunch of money. And I currently am chairman of a current medical billing out of Orange County, California, where we have offices. This may or may not be accurate. Oakland, Reno, Phoenix, and a couple in Los Angeles. There are different levels. It depends who you're collecting for. Insurance-related ones are harder. And insurance-related ones are harder, not just because you're just a number, but because they have lowered the amount that you are able to bill for certain things. Procedures that used to cost $2,500, now they will only allow or pay insurance $800, et cetera, et cetera. But once you get the ball rolling, once you get the inertia, once you get the momentum, they're good businesses. They're good businesses.
Yeah, and another risk factor that my board member mentioned was that healthcare is always going under consolidation, and those are your clients. So if a private equity guy buys one of your biggest clients, they can just throw you out as a billing service. So that's another thing to be aware of.
And they will. And I made a comment to one of the groups when I was spending time with you individually that being acquired by a particular industry that is rolling up within its industry, or when you're bought by a private equity company, normally the boards are gone, including you. And I said that during the regular seminar. Well, we've had a few people acquired by private equity. We've had a few people acquired by family offices, which give you the bullshit that they're friendly-wendly, right? And the you got thrown out. You get to the close, and you notice the officers, you're not one of them, and you notice the shareholding that let's say you still had 55 or 60%, as you should, if you did it right, is now 20%. And some of the kids are so stupid. One let the close go on without questioning it after they signed all the fucking papers, thinking there was another set of papers coming that it was going to vindicate his ownership. Well, that didn't happen. And the private equity guys laughed all the way to the cocktail section of the hotel. So almost under any set of circumstances that you're being acquired, you're not going to be there. They may keep the chairman. They may keep an industry expert. And if you have 65%, they plan on you being a cunt and then being able to beat you down at the close and give you 5% and pat you on the head and kick you in the ass and tell you to get down the road. That's their model. I said this in the first seminar. I'm saying it again. So don't delude yourself. We're going to talk more about the IPO and how that's not worth a shit either now, later on in the week. Okay. Yes, sir.
What would you have paid to make it a good deal?
3 to 5. So
How much is that?
300.
What's the EBITDA?
it's
64?
150 to 200, because the numbers she gave us were all over the place too. So anywhere between 300 to 600.
Okay, thanks.
Next group. Anything else for him?
So this had 5 locations within Sydney. So they did about 4.5 million in revenue and adjusted EBITDA. Can you go down? Yep, this one. Adjusted EBITDA. So from 2020 to FY 2022, they dropped 50%. So we did the due diligence at the end of 2022. So in Australia, 2022, we had the largest rainfall. So there was flood and sports events were all canceled. So going into due diligence, we knew the numbers were going to be bad. And there was the breakout of Omicron at the end of 2021. So we didn't expect the numbers to stay flat at 50%. So the last 12 months, so the EBITDA stayed low at 50% of what it was pre-COVID. So our purchase price was based on pre-COVID numbers at 5.25 times EBITDA at about 1.15. So the offer was 6.4 million in purchase price, 4.66 million cash at settlement, and the remaining a third over 3 years. So we couldn't close. So during the due diligence process, we saw that the adjusted EBITDA dropped by 50%. And we tried to hammer the price down by 50% and try to draw up a mechanism to pay them a higher earnout if the EBITDA recovers to 1.2 million. And they wouldn't accept that offer. So we had to walk away.
Okay. How, from the time that you saw what they wanted to the time that you walked away, what was the time frame?
So we got the first due diligence report at the end of November. I walked away.
Is this your own due diligence or accountant's due diligence?
This is KPMG's due diligence. Okay. So that was, and the first report was at the end of November. So
which year?
2022.
And?
I tried to jerk around the seller for 3 months, and we had to shut it down in March of this year.
So from November 2022 to March of this year?
Yes.
4 plus months, kind of. Okay. Okay. Now, I know why it didn't work, but I mean, why do you think it didn't work? Other than the spread.
Okay, so I think it's an industry downturn. So we looked.
Well, 2022 to 2023, there wasn't any downturn. Corona had gone.
So the financial year in Australia, it's at the middle of the year. So we don't know if it's cost of living crisis or the new government paying less for aged care related services. So there's another, there's a public company that's in physiotherapy.
Public company.
Yep. Public company in the physiotherapy and podiatry space. So their EBITDA dropped by 50% too. And they had to get privatized and delist.
Okay, no, wait a minute. So this was listed on a stock exchange.
No, I said a similar public company
Oh, similar public companies.
in the physiotherapy space, they also dropped 50%.
Yeah, but were they selling at the same multiples that this guy was trying to sell at?
No. So we looked at a private equity group that does physiotherapy, and their EBITDA dropped by 50%.
Okay, no. When you say you looked at numbers to compare to this in the public sector, does anybody in here remember in your pea brains what I said that the sellers and the buyers were going to try to use the public domain numbers to justify numbers for a privately held company? Do you remember what I said? What did I say? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And there's no liquidity. There's no comparison. It's like apples and oranges. So I would have walked away right then. You just said that they used the numbers in the public arena to try to justify the price of what they wanted.
No.
Because everybody dropped 50%, right?
No, what I'm trying to say is that the drop in EBITDA is across the industry. It's not just this physiotherapy group. It's across the nation, across the whole industry.
Well, what does that have to do? Guys, one has nothing to do with the other. It's like the guy that has a 3,000 square foot house and a 10,000 square foot neighborhood. Okay? That's trying to get the same, he's not basing it on a square footage. He wants to base it on an average of the street, all the houses. Like Donald Trump, $18 million, the two houses next to him, which I saw with these eyes. 51 million, 48 million.
I'm not saying they're trading at the same moment.
No, but what I'm saying is the fact that he even brought up that indice, I would say, fuck off. Just like, we know why you didn't say fuck off. Okay. We know why all of you don't say fuck off. Right? We know that. Vis-a-vis this, you're a coward. There's no other way of saying it. It's like at the last seminar, we had a Norwegian guy, 66 years old. And he said, they're all talking shit. Graduation night, you remember drinking too much. Okay. And he said, the thing that he was the last person I had private time with before graduation. And he said, the kids, he said, the real thing that everybody asked, he said there was not one question. Three things he said. There was not one question that the group asked that was worth a shit. Not one. In 5 days, if they covered the material like they said they did. Which, of course, I know you didn't. Okay. Number two, they're all afraid. And I said, of course, I heard him in my office. Well, tell me now, what are they afraid of, old-timer? And he said, because they know they can't perform. They don't question whether they can perform. They know categorically they cannot perform because they have never performed in anything in their fucking lives. You don't go from running a 11 flat 100 to the gold medal in the 100 in the Olympics overnight. This is harder than winning a gold medal in the Olympics. So you should have just thrown him out. Fuck you. And I told you the deal before that, and the deal before that, and the deal before that. I told you at the fucking Ritz. And I understand why, after 30 years, it's not going to change. But I know why the deal didn't work. It never had a chance of working. It's like when they want $1 million and you want to pay $50,000. That spread's not going to close. I don't give a fuck how you structure it. And to the fact that you wasted 3 or 4 months, and I use the word with emphasis, wasted, you could have been doing something else. You could have been doing, another deal. You could have got on the 13 Boys train, There's only so many ways to fuck up these deals. But one of which is to waste too much time on deals you can't close. Yes, sir.
What is wrong with the EBITDA numbers from the previous years? It looks like it would have worked out.
No. But all the EBITDA numbers went roughly, not EBITDA, but the industry dropped about 50% in value, right? Simplistically. Let's forget EBITDA for a minute. Even though I'm in love with EBITDA, let's forget it for a minute. So across the industry, healthcare in general, things dropped 50%. And I've got other kids in Australia, so I know. But that's not the only place that dropped 50%, believe me. Okay? I have a girl who closed a 48 million Australian dollar aesthetic surgery deal. Is that plastic surgery, right? Aesthetic? Yeah. And it dropped in 50% in value. Now she's the buyer, but everybody wants to wait either to use Proforma numbers or wait. But because they're not absolutely positive that the numbers or the industry will ever come back, they want to use Proforma. And the 5th or 6th or 7th rule that I taught you last time you were here is you don't ever use Proforma. I had an old guy, an old crook. He said, Dan, it's about when you're going to marry somebody, you want to sleep with them first to see how it is. Okay? You want to milk the cow first. Well, you're not marrying the girl on Proforma. Vice versa for the gals too. The guy talks like he's got a 10-inch dick and he's got a 1 centimeter dick. It's a big difference. He wasted time. You raising your hand or?
Proforma, you're really good. Is it true that you're pretty much going to see that only if it's on listed or it's being marketed through a broker? If you're finding a deal independent of all that, a deal that's off market, they're not going to be throwing Proformas at.
Oh, you're wrong. They will go to let's just take a company like General Electric. They sell air conditioners, right? General Electric sells, I don't know, let's just say 12 times EBITDA. And you're trying to buy an air conditioning company and construction business, and he's got 1 million in EBITDA, and he wants the 12 times EBITDA for his little chicken shit company. So they've got a cousin, an uncle, a brother, a former teacher. They go and this is what General Electric is selling for. This is what this company's selling for. So quite often they go to the marketplace. And for those the old retired people, they got nothing to do and all day to do it in, they watch TV, they watch the financial programs, and they watch these dimwits up there. They will use whatever leverage they think they have based on some indice that they think is favorable to them. We've been in a bull market, flat the last couple of years, for 15 years. Of course they're going to use the public entities, but the public entities have liquidity. You can call your Merrill Lynch broker or whoever and say, sell my 10,000 shares and you can have the money the next day. But these hogs, you can't do that. But see, I used to tell them that. In normal circumstances, I love Chinese. I love little Chinese ladies. But you're full of shit, with the greatest respect. And I always said, with the greatest respect. And they got me off the hook almost every time. With the greatest respect. You're full of shit. It's a dream. Your brain-dead Croatian husband has been lying to you. There's nobody in this room that will say that. I'm waiting 30 years, and I got 2 of you that I'm chairman of, and he will tell you in the nasty emails, or she will tell you, and not nasty, I write big font. And some of the emails I sent you, big red font. Are you fucking crazy? And Sally says, he means it in a loving way. Well, that's a load of shit. But anyway, he doesn't mean it in the way that would normally be taken if he bumped into somebody in the subway, you know? I mean, because you guys, you're delusional. Now, I said it to number 13 back here as straight as I could. But when I'm telling him to turn the key, I didn't know he had 13, 12. I would have approached it a little differently. I probably would have been nastier. But now he says this was only the 8th deal, so that leads me to believe, wants to lead you to believe that he means 7 better than that before, right? Oh, much more better. Piss poor English, but he's a German, so you can't expect much from him. Because Germans don't want to lose face. My German boards, and I have a few, I mean, they would rather lose money than lose face. We kicked the CFO out of one of our companies, and a year and a half ago now, we're still kicking that poor fucker down the road, blaming him for every fucking thing that went wrong. Some of which he had nothing to do with. But it's like football. Boom. You know, they think they're here. And you're no different. Somebody's hand went up. Yes, sir. Don't go away, Z. We're not done with you.
What was the motivation for this deal?
Okay, so there's 3 partners in the physiotherapy group. One is retiring, and the 3rd youngest is moving on to his new venture. So they want to get out.
And how old are they?
60 plus, 35-ish.
I don't believe that. Sounds good on paper, though. Sounds reasonable. But some of the most plausible reasons they give you for getting out are lies. It's kind of the culture, all cultures forgive you for lying when you're selling something. I don't know what. All cultures forgive you. I'm not going to forgive you, sweet pea. What do you want to say? Question? Okay, turn it on.
Did you cold this deal or was it on the market?
So I cold emailed one of the partners at the firm.
Is the deal on the market?
Okay, so I think I missed out something. So we are second in the line. So previous private equity firm tried to buy the physiotherapy arm and the new.
So the deal was on the market when they approached you.
Yes, they were on the market.
And you've heard the Grahams, Carlines. You've heard, well, you have the TK. They look for deals that aren't on the market. So the first offer they make is not through a broker, not through an investment bank. And Nelly, as he said, because then I can structure the deal just for him or her or them. Somebody else had their hand up. Yes, sir.
Do the 2 guys retired? Do they bring in any money? Like, are they practitioners that do they generate that revenue, or are they managing the company?
So one is a complete silent partner. He's completely retired, and one comes in every other week for a meeting. That's it.
So they're not producers anymore.
Like outside looking in, like the young guy, he's 35, like EBITDA's dipped. Like he just ride out for another couple of years, get EBITDA back up and make a lot more money than right now. If it's out only 600,000 versus 1.5.
So the greatest debate we are having is it a one-time event or is it permanent and here to stay? That's the question.
Well, I mean, it's a one-time event for them. The two guys are leaving supposedly, and the kid wants to go off and do something else, right? And the kid, that's what he says. Well, he's going to go into the same business. He's going to take the money and put it in his pocket.
So he's going into the age-share disability sector.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, there's a reason, and the fact that they told you about the private equity. I mean, listen to what they say. Private equity don't back away from deals just willy-nilly. Private equity have done some homework about this. There's something they liked. Now, I've gone to the private equities and asked them, why'd you back away from this piece of shit? Which I know you didn't do, right? Of course not. There's a reason I've been living here 40 fucking years. If you ask questions that are easily answered by the opposition, they're the wrong questions. I'm going to say that again. I said it during the first seminar. If you ask questions that are easily handled by the other side, it's the wrong fucking questions. I've never been in any kind of negotiation where I didn't make the people squirm. But then again, you're trying to be their fucking friend. And what has it got you? Nothing. When I sold real estate, God, I thought it was like a permanent multiple orgasm to me. It was so fucking easy. God almighty. And they used to come to your office. Fuck. Anything else about? Yes, ma'am.
This one, I don't like. Obviously, they won't do seller finance, right?
They only did part seller finance.
Percentage-wise,
The 6.4 million total purchase price, 4.66 cash at settlement. So the difference 1.8, a third over 3 years.
Yeah.
what interest rate?
Are you talking about the bank or
The seller finance part.
no interest?
Thank you.
Normally, this is a rough, and I don't like rules of thumb. This is a rough rule of thumb. The part that they'll do seller finance is the part that they think the business is worth. All the rest is just icing on the cake. Because they're getting a cash portion. Now, when they do 100% seller finance, it's because they don't think the business is worth shit. I've been doing this a long time. It's amazing that seller finance is not vogue, that's the wrong word, but is more popular now. And you can use it to your advantage, like TK told the guy, you're going to get $5 million, you're going to put it in the bank, you're going to get 2 or 3%. Let's do the $5 million in seller finance, and I'll give you 7%. I mean, that's genius. Come from TK. But you don't have to think. I mean, there's only 25 or 30 things you got to understand about this fucking model. The primary thing is it's only one moving part, and that's the motivated seller. All the rest is horse shit. All the rest is horse. And if you guys, and I say this slightly tongue-in-cheek, but meaning the truth, if he could get 1.8 million seller finance, right? No interest, I could have got the whole motherfucking deal done, seller finance. Or I walk away. We walked away anyway. Now, every deal you do, you're only going to close, if you're really, 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 really good, you're going to close 1 out of 3 deals. I'm going to say it again. If you're really, 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 really good, you're going to close 1 out of 3 deals. If you're horseshit like you are, you're going to close 1 out of 10 or 15 deals. TK has, I forget, 215 companies in his pipeline to buy. 215. I used to have 400 or 500 in my pipeline. But that's a lot of work, guys. That's a lot of cold calling, a lot of cold letters, a lot of cold emails, some system to follow it up. Yes, sir.
How you kept track of your own pipeline back when you were making calls?
Well, I currently have 5 women that run my life. Right, Kat? 5. Kat is one of them. And I've always had at least 3. I had 3 assistants that were in charge of different parts of my life. In the last 25, 30 years, Sally has been the ultimate no-go. We didn't have, these, not virtual, what do you call them? These time management things that you can buy and manage, who you call, when you call, and that kind of. We didn't have any of that then. And so I replaced those items that came later with human beings. Because me yelling at a time management program doesn't do me much good. Although it's kind of cathartic, but it's not the same as me making her cry, screaming at her. That's more cathartic, okay? But I had people, and we're going to listen to Anelli's thing, even though, because some of you saw it, some of you didn't. We're going to listen to it this week. And one of you, he's a ruthless bastard. He goes through a PA every 3 to 4 months. So he has 4 PAs a year. And he just assumes they're going to quit. And they do. Because they can't take the pressure. He has meetings at 2 a.m. on Sunday. You don't have anybody that'll even come to work at 2 a.m. Michael Milken, the junk bond guy, who I happen to know, if you want to meet him on any subject, from global warming to Greenpeace to interest rates, his first meeting with you will be between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. I know I've said this, and I know it's on my website. 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. at his home in Encino, California. And I remember he said, Danny, it eliminates 95% of all my meetings. Remember the doofus test. If I'm in Australia, wherever, I'd make sure that if I was there in person, I'd make sure that both ways to meet me, she'd have to fight traffic. I'd make sure our first meeting was on her wedding anniversary, or a kid's birthday, or Hanukkah or Christmas, whatever your persuasion is, or Diwali, the Indian thing, or during Ramadan. You don't want to see, fuck you! You don't do that. I told you about this. We had a kid last hardcore. The guy wanted to meet him on Christmas Day. No, not last one. 2 hardcores ago, I guess it was, Christmas Day. I said, he must be serious. I like it. I need my sleep. I can't do the 2 to 4 a.m. So I make on your, I know you got kids, little rugrats, on whatever, and I try to figure out which of the rugrat you love the most. And I'd make our meetings around, you missed his soccer, you missed his this. Because he's serious, or she's serious. And I'm not bragging, it's not nice to beat up girls, but I've beaten her up pretty good. She's still here. Because I don't give you any slack because your English is poor. It's not really poor. You use that, but I know it's not so poor. And I don't give any slack that she's Chinese. I don't give her any slack that she's 9,000 miles away. I don't give a fuck about it. I don't care. The people that pretend to care don't care. They just play the game. And most people that come through the seminar haven't figured that out yet. Did I answer your question? Any other questions? What you need to do, you don't need to do anything, Zane. But what I would do is, you've got a short, and I told you this before, and I told you in a different way on a different subject when we met when you were still a student, you've got to shorten the process. Fuck you, like Musk. You're a bright guy, okay? You're not anywhere near as bright as you think you are. I've told you this before. You're not. You're just not. And your whole model, your whole demeanor is you think they should be inspired to meet you. So far, you haven't met anybody yet. Now, how can I know that 8 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago? Because I'm motherfucking Freud, that's why. You have the tools. I don't like to use toolbox. You have the tools to do it, and not that many do it. And it's pretty fucking easy. We've got an 80 IQ like Forrest Gump up there, and we've got a 180 IQ. You've heard me say this 10 times. The 80 IQ did 400 million pounds in deals, and the 180 IQ did 40 million pounds. Now, a couple of you think you've got high IQs, but you don't. You've got embarrassing high IQs. And remember, you took psychological profile tests, remember? And at least two of you in this room should be institutionalized based on your test that you took in the beginning. At least two of you. I went back and checked this morning. Institutionally put in fucking chains in a padded cell. Now, that doesn't mean you have to stay in that status all your life. But it's tough for a zebra to change stripes. You know, of course, we know who did all that psychological damage. Some of you have smartened up a little, but not a lot. Otherwise, why do our guys do in the hundreds of millions and, you know, you're struggling still? But most people struggle. The average age of a deal, time-wise, last year was 1.7 years. What is that? I keep saying like the year's over. This year, so far, is 1.7 years to do a deal. I didn't say a deal that made sense. I said a deal. Because some of these concepts are just as foreign. As foreign as the most opaque foreign language spoken in this room. And that's why foreign languages are more acceptable to kids. Any questions of Zane? But I would go back and you got to take a look. You spend too much time on these people. You shake your head, yes, but
So I told the guy, if you're going to get all cash, $3 million, take it or leave it. Yep.
Well, that's if you can come up with the cash, and but a real red flag is when a private equity walks away. And I used to go to them. Now, arguably, it was easier for me because I come out of that industry, you know.
And one point to raise about why the private equity firm passed on the deal. They were trying to buy both sides of the physiotherapy and the new aged care disability business. So they grew to 60 locations, but they generate zero EBITDA. So my reasoning was that to try to get goodwill for.
Sure, yeah. Yeah. Because goodwill is smoke. One of my mentees, God love him, when we had 17 million in goodwill, I thought that we were pressing the envelope. The audit came back with 32 million in goodwill. I almost fainted, literally. But he's in cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, which is hot right now. And God bless him. I mean, I thought that the bank was going to piss on us, laugh us out of the fucking room. Yeah.
You offered him $3 million all cash on 440,000 of EBITDA.
On 597 EBITDA.
All cash.
All cash. I had to, if I was going to do it, I had to raise personal cash to do it.
Oh, okay.
And I just walked.
Yeah.
Yeah. But those deals you don't need. I know you want a deal. And I know at varying degrees you're desperate for the deal. I understand that. Because I used to be there. I've told you, has anybody in this room tried a government deal yet? No, of course not. Yeah. Of course not. Why would you? That's how I started. And it's how, what's Ray's last name? Raymond? Roberts. Old man, 50 years old. He's not old. To me, he's a kid. So he decided he took 880 days to do his first deal. I've written about it on YouTube. He was here just like John Robinson was here. 880 days to do his first deal. But he bought, I mentioned it, a government company that did government contracts. He didn't go for the government contracts. And he's done 2 other deals now, and he's on the Hall of Fame. And he's done 3 deals. He's got $12 or $13 million in EBITDA. And it wasn't easy. And all these companies that sold to him, 3 companies, have a different bullshit reason why they sold. They should do a sitcom. He'd email me, Dan, I know you're not involved in my deal, but this is the latest reason. I'd laugh my ass off. Hey, those guys should be, and he's Canadian, they should do a fucking sitcom. He would even tell you that. But the government deals are, you can finance them in, this is an exaggeration, a day, 3 days, a week. Because they know that as shitty as the governments are, within reason, UK, Canadian, German, US, they're going to pay. So there's no downside risk. Australian, they pay. Okay, thank you, Zane. Okay,